Coronavirus, a global pandemic.
Countries across Asia close their borders.
Avoid non-essential travel to China.
So you have been planning to go to China? Many of us have, but 2020 had a different plan in mind for all of us. In this video, I'm gonna share how to boost your Chinese without going to China. So let's go! So the first thing you can do is install a Chinese version of TikTok. It's called Douyin and has exactly the same interface as its overseas version. And actually it's a great tool for language learning. I know that when you think of TikTok, you probably think of dancing teens, but the fact is that Chinese version started several years earlier and there are tons of really cool, really useful bloggers out there. They create lots of different content, including for language learners, so you might want to check that out. And also it's a great source for cultural content too. For example, I love videos that make fun about differences between northern China and southern China. There are so many of them and they're really funny. Also, most of the videos there have subtitles, so you can watch, you can stop, you can read, you can translate characters, you can learn new words. So all in all, it's a great tool to boost your Chinese, and it's a great way to understand modern life in China without going there. Tip number 2, watch Chinese TV shows. A lot. Like binge watch them. Find your favorite format, can be anything. Historic drama, stand-up, family comedy, talk show, anything. When you're not surrounded by Chinese language environment, the only way to boost your language skills is to create this environment. And it's totally alright if you're just at the beginning and if you don't understand lots of what is being said, if you don't understand like 90%, that's okay. Because your task here is to get used to the language. Gradually, you will start distinguishing the words you already know and you will learn new vocabulary which often appears on that show. Another great thing about binge-watching Chinese TV shows is that you get to pick up authentic Chinese intonation. Even if you don't understand the sentence word by word, you still get to know how they express agreement and disagreement, how they express their anger, surprise, happiness, despair. Chinese language has its specific set of interjections and exclamations for these kinds of situations, for these kinds of emotions. And by watching Chinese TV shows, you will learn how to use them properly. Now that you watch Netflix in the lockdown all the time anyway, try watching it in Chinese. Netflix has Chinese TV shows, so get some benefit from that guilty pleasure of yours. Tip number 3, write a diary in Chinese. No matter how monotonous our lives in the quarantine are, that is not an excuse to miss out on such a great way to practice your Chinese as writing a diary. And the key thing here is don't think of it as a chore. Don't think that you have to sit down and write an essay every day. Write a couple of phrases here and there about the weather, about the movies you have watched, about the books you have read, about what you had for dinner, and so on. You still do that on your Instagram anyway, why can't you do that in your diary? Or better, write your diary on Instagram in Chinese. That is a sure way to get more likes. Tip number 4, make friends on language learning apps like Hi Native or Hello Talk. Having real communication with the natives is super important when you learn a language. And it is especially important for languages like Chinese, which have completely different grammar system from your mother tongue. With Chinese, you simply can't take an English phrase and translate it word for word. It doesn't work this way. Most likely you will not be understood. You need to know how Chinese grammar works in context to be able to build even very simple phrases. And for that, you need to talk to Chinese people, so go and find them. Chinese people are generally very friendly and willing to make friends. But if you have this language practice in mind, probably the best place to find them are language learning apps like Hi Native or Hello Talk. The advantage of such learning apps is that they give you time to think. You can build your phrase before sending it. You can translate the words that you don't know. You can look up the words that you need for your own phrase. Real face-to-face conversation does not have that advantage. And I know how intimidating it can be to start talking to a real person when you're just know a couple of phrases. But with language learning apps, even a beginner is very much welcome. People on such apps generally understand how hard it is to start speaking a foreign language. Also, you don't have to use characters if you're not comfortable with them. Just type pinyin and they will understand you, or use voice messages. Another great thing about such apps is that you can ask people to correct your mistakes. because having your mistakes corrected is super important for your progress. You can ask them to correct mistakes on your diary entries, for example, and this way your diary routine becomes super effective. So don't be shy, it's just an app anyway, no matter what your level is. Take advantage of such a great way to practice your Chinese without actually going to China. Tip number 5, cook using Chinese recipes. Go to Baidu.com, the Chinese search engine, type in a dish that you want to cook, and find a video recipe in Chinese. And it doesn't have to be a Chinese dish, can be anything, from Italian risotto to Japanese tempura. But as long as the recipe in Chinese, you're learning and it's great. So these were my tips about how you can practice your Chinese without going to China. Comment below how you're learning Chinese outside of China and subscribe to this channel to get more language learning tips from me. 谢谢大家耐心观看，下次再见，拜拜。